Thanks for tuning in to Northport Stories, where we highlight the people, places, and moments that make our city special. In this episode, we're recognizing Mental Health Awareness Month by sitting down with two leaders from Northport Behavioral Health, CEO Casey Webb and Chief Nursing Officer Kelly Wilson. Together, they share insights on the services Northport Behavioral Health provides, the importance of community-based care, and how we can all play a role in supporting mental wellness in Northport. Let's get started. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having us. Yes, thank you.
So to start, can you tell us a little bit about yourselves and your background?
Sure,
Who wants to start?
I'll start. So my name's Casey, and I'm the CEO at Northport Behavioral Health Hospital in Northport, and I'm a licensed clinical social worker by training and education. I've been in behavioral health my entire career since graduate school. I won't say how long, but many years. Years in the field, but just behavioral health itself, acute care mostly, is really my passion, and just excited to be here today to share about it.
And I'm Kelly Wilson. I'm the Chief Nursing Officer at Northport Behavioral Health. I also have spent my entire nursing career in behavioral health in one way or another. Spent a lot of time working hands-on with patients and then ventured into education for a while and then into leadership. And now, it's really my passion to build teams of people who love to care for people with behavioral health concerns.
And you guys have a beautiful new facility over off near Toledo Blade. I should say it's probably not a Toledo Blade address.
We're on Citizens Parkway. We're a brand new street.
Uh,
That's exciting.
can you talk about some of the services that you guys offer to the community that might not know what you guys do?
So currently, we're offering voluntary services to adult patients. So acute care, meaning inpatient care, average length of stay, 5, 7, 10 days, really depending on the presentation of the patient. We serve lots of different diagnoses from anxiety to depression, psychosis,
Mood disorders.
thought disorders on that acute level.
How many beds do you guys have there? Or
So
rooms?
ultimately, we will have 144 beds when we are running at capacity. We're currently running one unit, and we've limited our patient capacity to 12 to 24 patients right now.
Okay, so kind of slowly ramping things up as you guys get going.
Mhm.
What kind of sets you guys apart from other facilities in the area?
I think a big thing for us is that our parent company, Acadia, is the largest pure play mental health provider in the country. And so we strictly do behavioral health, mental health treatment that covers a spectrum of different things, our facility specifically being acute care. And we will have some other service lines that we add to that. But I think the fact that we can focus on one specific service, if you will, if there's different service lines, specifically behavioral health versus adding med surg and other things to it. But I know our facility, like Kelly, kind of brag on the building of, brand new facility that's
Yeah,
top of the line.
state-of-the-art facility that really has every possible safety mechanism in place for, our patients and our staff in the community.
And it's a gorgeous building. I love the color of the glass, the bluish orange. It's a beautiful building.
It is. Our architects and designers did a fabulous job really pulling in, kind of the coastal vibe, which is nice. And I would definitely say it's a beautiful place for healing. All of our patient rooms have natural light, which is something that's really important for us. And our spaces, are very safe, very clean, but it does not feel like an institution. It's beautiful artwork throughout the building, everywhere you go.
That's incredible. We'll probably talk about this multiple times, but I want to make sure that we really talk about it. Is if there's anyone who is in need of help or knows someone that needs help, what can they do? What should they do? What kind of those steps that they should be taking?
Well, I think the first step would be to give us a call. We definitely have the ability to pre-schedule assessments for people. If you are in a more severe state of crisis, you can certainly walk in, and we are available 24/7 to offer assessments to anyone who needs that. If you're really struggling with someone else who you feel needs to come in to see us and you're having difficulty convincing them, there are other avenues. You can involve law enforcement if necessary. But I think having a good conversation with that person and really speaking to them about what the benefits are of assessment. And the fact that if you're being assessed does not necessarily mean you'll become a patient, right? And we may just point you to an outpatient sort of support system. So I think having open conversations and knowing that we're available and you can come in at any time.
Yeah, that's important. I know the 24/7 is a huge deal. So I think that that's really incredible that you guys are able to do that. So May is Mental Health Awareness Month. Can you talk about its importance and why it's important that we continue to talk about mental health?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's huge, and I'm so grateful that we have a whole month to share about it and talk about it and that it is being talked about because it still unfortunately carries a stigma in many social circles and settings. And the reality is I can't think of anyone who doesn't know someone who has experienced a mental health crisis and or struggle with some type of mental health or substance abuse issue within your very close circle. It affects all of us, whether it's a spouse, a child, a parent, a friend, a coworker. And so for something to be such a large disease or, part of our population, it really should not be stigmatized the way that it is. And so bringing light to that and understanding that there is recovery, there's healing, I think is really important.
I think also, we all are well aware of our physical health, but we're not always aware of our mental health. And we all have minds, we all have mental health, right? And we all have things that create stress in our lives and things that sometimes become more than we can bear. And there's nothing that is shameful about that. I wholeheartedly believe that I and anyone else, that could be listening is one life stressor away from something that can just be a little too
Absolutely.
much. So, I think now post pandemic, we are definitely talking more about mental health and have seen, an uptick in people who are willing to talk about it and willing to look for help.
Yeah, and I think the talking about it has I think really helped increase those conversations. And I know for someone like myself, I struggle with anxiety and depression myself, and I probably would have never seeked help had it not been for my wife, who was open about her own struggles. And by her speaking up, it gave me the comfort to be able to go and seek help myself. And so I know talking about it isn't easy. Having to kind of to acknowledge that isn't easy for everyone. I know it wasn't easy for me, but being able to talk about it with someone that I trust and someone that I love and someone that I know cares about me really made a difference and really kind of gave me that confidence and the almost the right of way to say, like, yes, go get help. It is okay. Like it's not gonna hurt you. It's only gonna make you better. And I think that's talking about it is only just one step to making you better.
For sure. And I think you saying that it was okay, the saying of it's okay to not be okay. And I love that slogan because that is the truth. It's okay to not be okay. And there are resources, there are people out there to help you. And like Kelly alluded to, we're there 24/7 for assessments and it may not lead to an inpatient admission, but we can get you to the appropriate level of care. So we see people often that come in and just say, I don't know what I need, but I need something. We can meet with them, chat with the physician, and help provide services locally or with our community partners to say, hey, we might not be the best fit for you right now, but here's somebody who can help.
Yeah, that's important. What are kind of some of the misconceptions that we see or that we hear of with mental health?
Mhm. I think that people who are suffering from mental health disorders are violent. The data shows that people who suffer with severe mental illness are actually more likely to become a victim of a crime than to be a perpetrator of a crime.
Mhm.
I think that's probably one of the biggest. I know there's been a lot of questions about, what goes on in hospitals that treat behavioral health disorders and, people have seen so many movies that they have this
That are so
misconception that
inaccurate.
right, that we have people who are wandering around like zombies or are, over medicated, are, being subjected to barbaric treatments. And that's not what it is about. It's really, taking a look at the whole person and finding that person centered care and really focusing on finding healing.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think you saying that made me think of, the reality is that we can provide services kinda wrapped around, when someone comes in, we're also addressing physical complaints or concerns, and they're receiving care from a physician and or nurse practitioner and getting a physical. So if there are any comorbidities going on, we can address those, treat those, ensure there's proper follow-up. That is something that we love, and we're, very open to organizing tours of the facility, and we love doing because it can be very eye-opening to people. They have a misconception based on media or whatever else of what may or may not be happening in there, and every person that comes in is like, "Oh my goodness, like, this is awesome. Like, I would stay," like, I would come here, and it is. We have a beautiful kitchen with staff, and folks get to come through and pick their lunch, and, we want it to be a positive, healthy experience for folks.
And I feel like that's kind of probably very location specific, talking about the facility and how amazing the facility is that you guys have. But I think even for people in general, so many people want to say, I wish I would have done this sooner. Just getting help, whether that's
Mm.
going to a facility or talking to their doctor or getting on medication if that's the route that they choose. So many people, including myself, wish I would have done it sooner. I wish I would have been okay with not being okay sooner in my life because I think it held me back from a lot of things mentally and physically, emotionally. And so I think it's important to kind of acknowledge that one, like you said, it's okay to not be okay, and that, I wish I would have done it sooner, and I think there's probably a lot of people that come into the facility who say they wish they would have come in sooner, or they wish they would have just gotten help sooner. So, have you noticed kind of a shift in the way that people are talking about it, or if you've noticed that more people are coming in, or even maybe different generations coming in? Because I do think the younger generations are a little bit more open to talking about these things than maybe some of the baby boomers or the other generations.
I do. Though we have seen a good mix of people since we opened, from, 18 on up into the late 70s.
Mm.
So, and they have all benefited. And it's really kind of amazing to see that we get these lovely thank you notes
Mhm.
from people who we've had the opportunity to serve and help. And it really does give you a different mindset about where people have come in thinking about mental health.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point thinking about, with our smaller service line right now as we ramp up, we really have had in one given day someone from 18 to 75. And the reality is that mental health doesn't discriminate based on color, based on age, based on anything. And they have a commonality that we can come together and work towards treatment. And obviously, you have individualized treatment plans and goals, but to normalize that it really doesn't matter what age you are, that you can A, get treatment, but B, we can work together towards healing.
Do you guys work with other community organizations or healthcare providers in the area right now?
So we do. We don't have any official, like, commitments with anyone, but we're excited for what I will say is the city of Northport and the surrounding areas have been very welcoming, wonderful neighbors, and honestly, so many people have reached out to partner with us, and as we're opening, I've had to be like, "Okay, hold on one second till we get the doors," till we kind of get our stable state, right? But we've been really fortunate, whether that's law enforcement, fire department, the art center here in town has been just so gracious and gifted us a beautiful painting, and just folks have been coming through and partnering for either, how can we assist them in their care? And then also how could they partner with us? So it's been really encouraging.
Right. And partnering with other hospitals
Mhm.
that provide mainly medical services has been great. And then also partnering with the local chapters of the mental health associations that are out there.
Mhm.
Well, and I think as you guys had said too, like you guys are kind of able to provide wraparound services.
Mhm.
And so if someone comes in with, some mental health illnesses and then they're able to say, well, my back really hurts and I have a knee issue and I've had a knee issue forever, you're able to kind of work with these other agencies to coordinate a full body care, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, so on. Yeah. Are there any kind of, because you guys are a newer facility, do you guys have any like different or innovative approaches to working with mental health?
So I think that we definitely focus more on working with someone and not pushing boundaries. We, as a facility, we do not utilize mechanical restraints, which is really kind of innovative in behavioral health. We are focusing on trauma informed care, understanding that everyone comes to us with a story and we don't necessarily know what that story is. We don't want to drag up anything that has caused someone trauma in the past. We don't want to inflict new trauma on someone. So really focusing again on that whole person and really working with them to discuss what their triggers might be, their coping mechanisms, how we can work with them to get them to the best headspace possible.
For sure. And our mission is to lead care with light. And I think a big piece of that is that leading care in that we're the subject matter expert and we're the provider. The patient, the person receiving care, we want them engaged, and it's their treatment, it's their process, it's their discharge plan, it's their engagement with family, friends. And so we have the opportunity to be the helper in that and kind of the facilitator in that. But it's about kind of where they want to go and how can we help them get there.
And I think just hearing that, as you had mentioned earlier, how that kind of is the antithesis of what the media has portrayed in different TV shows and movies, like, and even the mechanical restraints that you had said, like, this isn't like a straitjacket facility with a padded room, and like you're very isolated from yourself. And I think it's important to hear that you guys really are focusing on what I hear as is the heart and the soul, and it's not just about what's going on up here, it's what's going on here as well.
Yeah, and integrating in our treatment, they have a full treatment schedule. We keep folks busy on the unit, and obviously they meet with a provider daily, and nursing staff is obviously there 24/7. Therapists, we have master's level clinicians facilitating process
Recreational
group.
therapy.
Yeah, recreational therapy, nursing led groups, and another, wonderful thing that we love about our facilities, we have 4 exterior courtyards, so every day we get outside.
That's nice.
It's getting hotter right now, but we enjoy, but I mean, fresh air, like trying to incorporate the things that when you leave and you reintegrate back and how do it shouldn't be an isolating event. Like you said, we want to incorporate life skills that you can take home with you and implement.
Which is super important because, oftentimes when you come into a facility like ours, you are removed from all of the things that are causing you stress or that are triggering the issues that you're having and that are bringing you to us, right? And so it's very easy to put those aside when you're with us, but we're utilizing, modalities that will give people the ability to take the skills that they've learned outside, back home, and into that world where the stressors exist.
Yeah, it's not just about coming in, you're gonna get treatment here, and then once you're gone, you're gone.
Right.
You're setting people up for success, that once they leave, you've taught them the skills to be able to say, "Hey, this is a stressor of mine, and I notice it triggers my anxiety," or so on. This is how I can handle it and work through it myself on my own terms.
Exactly.
What are kind of some of the goals that you guys have for the facility? I know you're a new facility. You're kind of just starting to ramp up and welcome more patients into the facility. What are some of the goals that you guys have for the future?
Well, that's a great question because I was just thinking that as we're thinking about, right now being specifically inpatient level of care, but our facility is built to provide both intensive outpatient services as well as partial hospitalization. And so those are 2 lower levels of care that are not where you would come to the hospital and spend the night. You can participate in those, just that could be your program line that you're in, or maybe you're in the hospital. And our goal would be to step you down to one of those services. So partial hospitalization typically is 5 days a week, 6 hours a day, group, you come in, you have lunch with us, we do group, you go home every evening and you come back every day, Monday through Friday. And then intensive outpatient is similar, but just like a little bit lighter version. And it's usually 3 days a week for 4 hours. So obviously we have those service lines coming on hopefully in the calendar year. And so we could kind of have that continuum of care. And, we are what we consider a growth facility. So initially took our first patient in March with a staff of around 60. I think we're right just shy of 100 staff now.
Wow.
And then when we are fully operational at 144 beds, we'll be pushing 300 staff. So that's exciting in of itself for Northport and for us. And so just a lot of growth for sure.
Absolutely.
And it's excited to see the hospitals and the healthcare support that we're getting in Northport now. It's very exciting to see. I want to thank you both for coming on today. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy days to come to City Hall and sit down with me and chat for a little bit. So as we wrap up, I just want to ask, in summary, what is something that you hope that listeners can take away from this conversation? I know we talk about a lot. I know we've talked about the facility. We've talked about the Mental Health Awareness Month. What is one thing that you hope listeners can take away from this conversation?
I think for me, it's just that there is help out there. And, you do not have to feel shame if you do need help. It's okay to not be okay.
hmm And I think we often talk about, I know you mentioned earlier, Kelly, that, if very often mental health is segregated or pulled out and not looked at like our physical health. No one would question if you went to the doctor for diabetes treatment or
Right.
for cancer treatment or heart treatment. And there should be no question around mental health treatment. And I also liken it to, we go to the dentist every 6 months, or hopefully you do. And, there's preventative care in mental health. And so, acute care is the most restrictive level of care, and sometimes it's needed, but it's also great to engage sooner. Like you said, that concept of when I feel like I need help, going in and talking with someone, and that could be traditional outpatient, it could be med management, it could be IOP, PHP, but treating our mental health just like we would the rest of our bodies and getting, that annual checkup and whatever it is that's needed to kinda keep you in tip-top shape.
We work out our legs, we work out our heart, and we
Right.
work out our brain as well.
That's right.
And to summarize again, if you or someone else needs help or is seeking help, where can they go? What can they do to reach you guys or any other services in the area?
Yeah, so for sure, we're there 24/7, and you can just come in. You don't have to call, you're welcome to call if you have questions, if you wanna give us a heads up, if you wanna, ask anything, but we're there. We have nurses and master's level clinicians there 24/7 with the doors, ready to let you in.
Awesome. And then that number is 941-867-9470. And I will put that in the show notes. I want to thank you both for coming on today.
Thank you for having us, we really appreciate it.
Thank you. That's another chapter of Northport Stories. Don't forget to subscribe and follow us to hear more tales from our community. Have a story you'd like to share? Reach out. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep exploring and connecting with the people and places that make Northport home.